Howdy team. In this video, I wanted to talk to you about the importance of lead generation. And for you to understand, why is it that mortgage brokers, financial services professionals, life insurance advisors consist on this whole lead buying game? Why is this still a thing? To give you context, when I started my business back in 2006, it was at a time when Money Supermarket had just kicked off. And you could buy leads from Money Supermarket, which then was renamed as PAA. You could also use companies like Lead Bay, and I'm sure there were some other ones that I can't think of the name right now. Typical when you're talking and when you need to. But it was back then. There wasn't really much internet. 2006 kind of time, 2009. There wasn't much in relation to options to generate leads and increase sales. So I spent my first 10 years building my business only buying leads, only doing that. I did no marketing. I did actually try cold calling in my very early days as a mortgage broker. I did actually do a lot of telephone lead generation when you could cold call for mortgages and insurance. We used to do a lot of survey data where we would have somebody who said, do you currently have life insurance? Yes. Would you like to review it? Do you currently have life insurance? No. Would you like a free quotation to protect your family? And anyone who said yes to those answers, we would phone up. And it was 100 phone calls to get one sale. It was a hard slog. But the whole thing that has changed in financial services, in the world, in marketing, is digital marketing. You now have the opportunity to do a video that goes and reaches hundreds of thousands of people. You have the opportunity to attract your ideal client to you through content marketing, through SEO, through blog writing, through all the different social media platforms, through podcasting, through video, through YouTube. There's a million different ways to get going. And I wanted to share with you my experience through a journey of building a business successfully, buying leads for 10 years, but feeling mentally and emotionally trapped. Spending £20,000 a month in 2014, 2015 on low quality leads, £20,000 a month. When I started doing the lead buying game in 2006, and it was, £30 per lead, 20% conversion, you'd make profit on every one over your cost per sale of about £600. And it was happy days. I could run the business on spreadsheets and I knew my numbers inside out. And I did that for 10 years. But what I saw was a steady decline as more lead providers came into the industry and into the market. Guess what happened? Competition levels went up. And all of a sudden, brokers were sacrificing their fee, getting rid of insurance commissions to win the deal and win the sale. Then 12 months on, all of a sudden, the bigger beasts who were buying the leads, the bigger businesses, started recontacting all the leads that they had paid for previously, putting them into dialer systems and absolutely hammering them, and being really clever about it in the way in which they approached the clients 12 months later. The reason why I know is because I used to submit inquiries on these websites to see how other companies were dealing with them. And this is the problem. It's a trap. And you need to learn how to start building your own marketing, your own machine, your own automated lead generation so that you have a business for the future. So I'm not saying that buying leads doesn't work. I've got hundreds of mentees in financial services. And on one side of the coin, there's people who've been doing it for ages and it's working for them brilliantly. And it's part of their marketing and lead generation strategy. I'm a massive fan of multiple streams of leads. On the other side of the coin, those that are starting out today versus those that have been doing it for a longer period of time find it much, much more difficult, particularly if you're at the beginning of your financial services journey. Maybe you've newly gone self-employed. Maybe you have only just joined the industry. I believe you're going to find it a real big struggle. And I'm going to tell you why in a moment. Now, let's just assume that, lead providers can range from anything from 25 quid per lead through to, £150 per lead for a booked appointment. Most of them, I would say, probably hover between the 50 and 70 pound because they see what that, where that kind of works. But the difficulty is the time span, particularly in mortgages, between when the lead comes in and the conversion of that particular lead. That's the huge difficulty for you. And if you only rely on buying leads, then you'll build a monster like I did that makes you feel trapped and makes you feel anxious. Because if you have no other source of business, and you might get referrals, but that's a vicious trap, because what happens if everybody suddenly stops referring, like during the pandemic? That doesn't become high priority to think, oh, I need to recommend my mortgage or insurance broker. So this is the thing. If you only have one source, you're trapped. So buying leads, if it's your only source, you are going to potentially risk failure in the future, because you could buy 100 leads and they could all be rubbish. But it's the time scale from when the lead comes in to when you convert it that is the real thing that people miss. So let's assume that you're paying £70 per lead and you have to buy 10 leads in order to be able to get 2 sales. Let's hope that we can get 20% conversion off the back of those. That's going to be £700 in a lead cost. And then you've got to work out that if you're charging a fee, if you're getting a procuration fee, if you're selling insurance. Now, if you manage to sell to those 2 clients, let's assume 497 fee, let's assume a couple of £100,000 for a mortgage and a £50 a month life insurance policy as a real kind of bare bones consideration. You're going to be around about £3,900, something in and around that margin, which is good. That's a 18% margin that you're having. It's going to be 18%. You're going to get back over 4 times the amount, over 5 times the amount. Look at me being a mortgage broker and doing my maths, eh? But you're going to get back 5 times the amount. That is perfect. That is great money in, money out. You put that in context, put £1 into a machine, you get £5 back. That's where you want it to be. Now, let's assume that you don't charge a fee because you're at the beginning of your journey. You're not particularly good at sales. You have that fear that if you charge a fee, someone else, the lead's going to go elsewhere and you're not going to be able to win that piece of business. Well, there's a double whammy here, because if you take the £1,000 out roughly that you get from the 2 fees, all of a sudden you're now only earning 2,900, £3,000, which now means it's 25% as a cost per sale. So if you're at 25%, still good, still 4 times. We're putting £1 into the machine, we're getting £4 back. But the difficulty for you is that by not having that fee, all of a sudden you pay £700 a week, because the whole thing with lead buying is consistency, in the same way that it is with marketing. You spend £700 per week to get your 10 leads. You've now just extended the time span at which you can start getting your money back. Because if it takes, let's assume 3 months to get your first client, if you're getting first time buyer leads or remortgage leads, let's assume that it takes them 3 months to actually go through and convert. You've now got to spend 3 months worth of £700. Let's assume that the money doesn't start dipping in until 6 months in. Now, all of a sudden, you've got to start spending 6 months worth of money before you start to see a real ROI. So on your 10 leads a week, waiting 3 to 6 months, you need to make sure that you've got pretty much £9,000, £10,000 in your bank to be able to support you through that initial phase of buying the leads consistently, because of the lifespan and the time span for the mortgage client to be ready. That is huge. And this is where so many people go wrong in buying leads. You have to have a pot of cash. You have to do it consistently. You have to make sure that you are doing your first appointments, your strategy calls, your discovery calls, whatever it is, consistently every single week for a long period of time. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Even if you go and say, I only need 5 leads because I want to get 1 sale every week, you still need £4,500 in order to be able to make it work in the bank. If you've gone newly self-employed, can you afford to have £4,500 in your bank? You also then need to be thinking about, you're going to need administration in order to be able to manage that volume of inquiry and volume of sale. This is where the problem lies. And what happens if you get 40 leads that are just a really bad batch. They're not anyone you can help. They've got adverse credit. They've been furloughed for an eternity. They're self-employed and didn't work for 6 months. There's too many variables, particularly in the current climate, that need to be taken into consideration. And this is the problem with buying leads. You could end up spending, 700 quid over the course of 4 weeks, which is going to be £2,800, and you could see zero return. Or worst case scenario, you spend a huge amount of time contacting every single one of those leads, which keeps you busy and you feel really good because you're speaking to loads of people. You can only help one of them. And not only you break even. Now, what do? You're back to square one. You've made no profit. You can't support your own family and your own lifestyle. So buying leads can work if you get good quality ones. If you look to charging a fee. The problem that so many people make in buying leads is the fact that you don't call them quick enough. If you don't call the lead within 5 minutes of receipt, you have lost that sale potentially. They'll just go elsewhere. They'll be on the website. They'll start clicking and going to other places. 5 minutes is the time span that you need to call that lead from the moment it comes in. You then have your skill set and your mindset in being able to convert that lead on the first conversation. Can you actually convert it on the first call? Are you good enough to find the problem, offer the solution, and really double down on the fact that you are the best broker, advisor, insurance agent, mortgage advisor, financial planner, will writer to solve that pain and that problem? If you don't believe it, then you are never going to achieve it. If you can't have that first conversation and really, really dial into rapport, relationship building, problem solving, then you're never going to be able to convert the lead. And if you don't call them in the first 5 minutes and you're crap at your first phone call, you've lost that inquiry. Buying leads is a skill set. It's the biggest thing that I used to train my advisors on when I had a much larger team back in 2015, buying leads. Now we don't buy any leads. Everything that I've done is organic lead generation, building out automated lead generation systems, referrals, introducers, social media, content marketing, and now putting in a process that actually works to generate leads for less than £2 per lead. So the thing is you need to reflect on what is your goal. What is your actual plan? Lead generation can be a great way to start, providing you understand it and you do it right. It can kick things off for you. It can get you, out of the gate if you have some cash to burn. If you are willing to accept that you may not get your money back. And as you start to utilize that lead generation, buying from the providers that are out there, if you're lucky and you get the good ones, then happy days. The key is are you putting the profit into your own marketing and utilizing social media, blog writing, building out your own Google and Facebook ads, setting up an email marketing system for every lead that you don't manage to convert so that you can maintain the relationship with them? Are you looking at building relationships with introducers, and are you producing content and reaching out to them consistently every single day? Are you doing actual proactive marketing, or are you just going to sit there and constantly look for leads to be reactive to the opportunities that are coming to you? It's really, really important that if you want to build a business, if you want to have success, if you want to make sure that you have a business that's going to last a lifetime, you have to build out your own marketing machine. I'm insanely passionate about this because I didn't do it for 10 years. It's my biggest mistake in business. And I don't want you to make the same mistake that I did. Lead buying is difficult. Lead buying is a trap. If you really want to have a fun and profitable business, you need to start marketing yourself. You need to start putting yourself out there, building a personal brand and being clear on what your personal brand is, identifying who you most want to work with. What is your niche? What is your ideal customer? Who are they? Demographic, psychographic, job title, industry. Then managing to gain their attention by understanding your customer better than anybody else, which enables you to sell. And that's both selling from the point of view of getting the client onto a phone call, getting the client onto a database, making sure that your first phone call is the best phone conversation you can possibly have to build rapport, to sell a fee so that you get a quicker ROI. Because at the end of the day, as I was saying earlier, if you are spending £700 per week and you can start to take a fee from a client for arranging their application, all of a sudden you've brought your ROI forward potentially 2 to 6 months, sometimes 1 to 6 months. If you get a lead in today, you sell to them today and you don't charge them a fee, you've got to wait 3 months until that mortgage and insurance pays. So at least you've got to have 3 months worth of lead buying money in your pot. And you've got to take into account that realistically, you need to get at least 100 leads to be able to know whether that lead source is any good. Because otherwise you could just get the rubbish ones. If you want the cream of the crop, you've got to be consistent. It is a vicious and virtuous cycle though. And it is one that will keep you trapped for a longer period of time. Because if you don't work on your own marketing strategy, your own social media, your own personal brand, your own automation, then how are you going to generate leads? If you stop buying those leads, what are you going to do? So let me leave you with this thought. What are you going to do and what is your plan for the next 12 months, 3 years or 5 years for your business? Once you get to a point of having 300-400 clients, if your goal is to remain as a sole trader, you will lose potentially 20% because they'll end up going elsewhere or going direct to the bank, or someone who bought that lead previously will end up taking it over. Or, you will actually then gain 20% as well. You'll lose 20%, but you'll also gain the 20% in referrals. So 300 to 400 clients can provide you with a real, consistent, decent income over a period of time. But what's your plan? How are you going to make sure that the money that you're spending £700 per week on buying these leads, or even £500 per week on buying these leads, how are you going to start to taper that down over a period of time, at least within your first 12 months? I would hope that if you're doing this efficiently and effectively, you manage to stop buying leads at the end of your first year. You should have the mindset and work on your skill set. That means that you do not buy leads for longer than 12 months, because you should, by that point in time, be investing that £700 per week into, or even 350 if you're only buying 5. You should be investing that into your own marketing, into your own apprentice, into your own Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, your own SEO, your own content writing, your own social media manager who can start to build this out for you, or a social media agency who can take your message farther and wider. That is the way in which you build a successful business. That is the way in which you build a more profitable business, because you control the cost of 18 to 25% of what you spend. You'll be able to control the 4 to 5 times ROI that you get back. You will be able to predictably build your business, the results that you get and the profit that you want, because you will understand where to put your money. And lead sources can change. Google can be great 1 month and rubbish the next. In the same way that inquiries, because of the world that we are currently living in, where everything over the last few years has been changing, criteria, clients, circumstances, furlough, COVID, pandemics, all of these aspects are taking huge impacts on the results that you can get. And if lead buying is your only option, I fear you may fail. Thanks very much indeed for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I would love to know what you think, so please do leave me a comment. Come and connect with me on social media channels. I would love to hear your thoughts on this episode. And if you want to grab my free guide to lead generation, generating 30 leads in 30 days, then check out the link in the comments and in the show notes, and I'll make sure that you'll be able to grab that. It's on the Financial Pro website, where you can download it. It's a completely free guide, and it will help you to generate 30 leads in 30 days. Thanks for tuning in. Have a fantastic day. Remember, now's the time to become pro.